Peace, peace, peace. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Our second edition of Poems and Passion. My name is JaSUN, and I'm blessed to be here. Glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are tuning in with us, man. We got an awesome show for you today. And before I get into our featured guest, I just want to say a couple things. One, I want to explain the name Poems and Passion because what we're doing here is we're going to interview a different poet from around the country, not just locally, from around the country that's really doing something, that's really making some moves out here, and we want to find out their passions, whether it's their passions behind the poem, whether it's their passions, politically intersecting. What are their passions? What made them feel? What made the artist feel like writing that? Where are we going with this? And what's our passion driving us? So that's why I chose the name Poems and Passion. Today's gonna be a great show, man. I'm excited. I go way back with the feature, man. He's an awesome cat, and it's just a good feeling. I'm gonna start this off with a poem of my own, really quick. It's a little icebreaker. We hope, staring at the world through a black and white kaleidoscope, color me bad. Just like the dad I never had, color me blue as the sky. That's not true. Just color me beautiful. Color me yellow as the sun, following me when I run away. I tried to run the sun away and color me a new day. Paint me the color of freedom, color the racism. They colored me black when I was in prison and white as religion. Why don't you just uninvisible my man? You can't see me or understand me until I paint myself angry. Jeans sagging on the corner hanging, sipping 80 proof strange fruit. I'm just searching for the color of my own truth. How gray is injustice? You bleach my whites until this world gets right? What is not black enough? A telescope can't take you far back enough into black matter when being black mattered, mentally martyred, spiritually shattered. Blacks get battered when we turn to black batter. See, Jackie Robinson risked it all to be the first black batter. Can you take the murder out of blue? See, they're supposed to protect me and you. What is the color of truth? It should be transparent, apparent before your eyes, but it's dyed, conked, straightened, and lied. Tastes good like a strawberry shake with fries. Truth is, we've been McDonaldized. What is the color of Jesus' nails? Or W.E.B. Du Bois' veil? Can we put a rainbow in a pail and paint a new color? Something like the energy between two lovers, something like peace, something like diamonds without blood. I want to paint the whole world color of love.
Peace.
Peace, peace, peace. So, just trying to paint a little positivity, get the energy flowing right. Gotta have the energy flowing right because this brother that I'm about to bring before you, man, some of you might know him as Influence, some of you might know him as Charmant Influence Little. He's from my hometown, New Haven, man, and that means a lot to me, man, because I just see some of the struggle, but I'm not gonna talk too much, man. Let's hear from Influence. Say what's up to the people, bro.
Peace, bro. How y'all doing?
No,
What's
no
going
doubt.
on? What's going on? It's a pleasure to be here, man. What's going on with you? How you been?
Man, listen, I've been excellent, man. I've been excellent, man. I got so much peace in my life today, like peace. I ain't had that in a long time, man. And you've seen me. You've
People,
seen me.
people
So
don't, people don't even know. People don't even know the definition of what actual peace is in your life. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, for you to be able to say that and to say that you have peace in your life, people don't. So a lot of people don't get to that pinnacle of life to have peace in their life, bro. So that's a great thing.
yo, bro, I'm 48. I just turned 48 and I'm just finding peace. I'm just learning exactly what you're talking about. I'm learning that definition, man. And I'm embracing it, man, And with that peace, it makes me embrace, my fellow brethren, man. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
which
Yeah, man.
definitely be you, man. You know, first I just for people, I know influence. I know, I don't know everything about your story. But I know some, key things, man, and I feel proud to have been there. For people that don't know you, why don't you tell them who influence is and what you do?
Um, Influence is a young black man that grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, born in Franklin Street Projects in New Haven, and uh, who who had a praying mother and a praying grandmother, who had a dad in his life that forced him to do certain things that weren't necessarily fun, but were necessary, like reading dictionaries and reading books and different things like that. And uh, I'm a father, I'm a writer, I mean, I'm all these things in one. Um, uh, to go into the story about who influence is, like real quick. Um, I started writing poetry, in middle school. And from there, it kind of fell off because you got tied up in the streets and different stuff like that. And it wasn't cool at that time. So you're 48, I'm 45. You
Right,
know what I'm
right.
saying? So it wasn't cool at that time to be a poet and stuff like that. So I kind of put it on the shelf. And then my younger brother went to college. And I was playing that big brother role, and I went up to his dorm up at Western and was going through his stuff, making sure he wasn't doing nothing wrong. I came across his poetry books. I didn't had no idea he wrote poetry, and it kind of got me back into it. And then I started going to the library with an eye institute at the library and rocking out there. And then I came to your spot that you had on State Street at that time with Breon Baines and Qualo and Conscious and all them. And the story from there. I was calling myself BI at that point because that's what they was calling me in the street, bad influence. And then JaSUN, you go after I do my little poem and it's all positive and everything. You like, yo, why you call yourself BI? Like, I give you this elaborate acronym type positivity thing. He was like, nah, bro. It's like, nah, that's not gonna work. He was like, your name influence. And then from that point, I've been influenced ever since, man. Yeah, poetry has been everything to me ever since, bro.
Word, word. I like the way that you touched all on that, which is definitely a true story. And I just want to say, like, yo, you made me laugh, when, I think about, like, kind of being from the streets and everything. Like, poetry ain't that cool. Most of my boys I grew up with, they rappers. They straight rappers,
Yep.
and stuff like that. I remember you, man. Before I actually knew you as a poet and stuff, I remember, I used to go through the G a little bit, and
Right.
I remember just like, seeing you and stuff like that, man. So just to make that transition, man, speaks volumes, man. It's something I think about often, man. I advertised the show, and a bunch of the likes that I got on it was my old school Ave brothers. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's
Right.
like, wow, man. So, like, when we can make that transition, and stay positive, for me, myself, that's why I write poetry. It keeps me positive. It also helps save my life. You know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
same thing with me. The reason why I continue to write poetry because it's therapeutic for me. To keep it 100, there was a point in time in my life where right around the time my uncle Eric passed away, um I was in a desperate place, man. Like a lot of things wasn't right in my life, and then I lost my best friend who was my uncle, and I was contemplating suicide. So I was at West Haven Beach, and I was on the pier, and it's a little funny thing to this at the same time. I was on the pier, and I was literally going to jump off the pier at high tide. And the only thing that took me down from that pier was a poem came in my head, and I got off the pier and I sat on the bench and I started writing. And the thing that makes me chuckle is that I'm a I'm a I'm a crazy swimmer. Like I'm like I don't know how suicide was gonna work at that thing because I swim like really good. Um but yeah, but the mindset is what's the most pertinent thing about it, and the fact that poetry, like I contribute poetry to really saving my life. And from that point on, poetry has saved my life in a multitude of ways, man. From everything from meeting new people, connecting with new people, meeting people I would have never have met if it had not been for spoken word and for poetry. And everyone from Mary Baraka to uh, yourself and D Moss, like people who have been in my life that has helped construct my poetry career um, to help me get to where I am today.
Word, word, word. So we got a lot to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Because like you got a whole, business influence of life, and I know you're doing some things. Listen, I know you was, I know you've been involved in a lot of things, community wise, and with your poetry and on a business level, and we want to get into all of that. This
Cool.
segment. Man, it's huge to me, man. Especially to see you sticking with it all these years, man. Like that's how things really come into fruition. But I actually do really sincerely and truly. It's been a minute, man. You know what's coming. I would like to hear a piece, brother. I'd like to, for those that haven't heard you, those that have, give them a little of the artistic side, bro.
Okay. This one I'm gonna do is because everything I do right now is for uh my girls. So
Mm.
I have two daughters, and what I realize is braiding hair isn't just braiding hair. It's a process. Wash. Keep her thoughts clean to help break up the dandruff of the world. Condition. To recondition her roots so she realizes she's not a black, broken, brittle piece of herself. Blow dry. Medium to low heat. Protect the history of her roots. Seal in your lessons. You see, this is a process because these lion relaxers will rip her from her culture like native tongues are ripped from her mouth. You see, when men have daughters, we hear, you're going to reap what you sow. I mean, what goes around comes around. So I park their hair straight to continue the path of angels sleeping in their nappy-headed roots because equality can't be boxed in a box braid. So I grease up with black gospel verses, putting the Holy Ghost in my combs because ethnic roots are blessed with trials and tribulations. Like when white counselors told my daughter she can only choose from community colleges, but universities showed her the money with full-fledged educational scholarships. Braiding hair isn't just braiding hair, so style it with a spiritual connection, a beautiful three-strand trinity, father, daughter, holy bond. Blessed be the shotgun for the prom dates. This ain't just braiding hair, so I braid underhanded to hide my fears of black girl magic, because black girls are vanishing just like black boys. They go missing like barrettes. When a Tamir Rice gets shot, everyone forgets about Rakia Boyd, Ayanna Jones, Sandra Bland. These women had fathers like me that were going to Walmart to grab period pillows, rags, sanitary napkins, tampons, and dare somebody to say something. They can catch these shea butter anointed hands. See, this is more than just braids and ponytails. These are open conversations like, Daddy, why can't I date him beating you sell drugs? Like, Daddy, I think she wants to take me to the dance. This is more than just braiding hair. This is therapy. This is baby. I put the drugs away a long time ago. You're the only potent substance I wanted to handle. It's baby. Remember, you can choose whoever you want. Just remember that Daddy loves you. Because baby girl, your path won't be easy. You can't be tender-headed. You got to be able to handle any style. Because this world will band you into knots, twist, and lock you up because they dread your existence. It's not about braiding your hair. It's about quality time, ending daddy issues, being your shoulder, but you not needing it, unapologetically independent and showing unconditional love when this world gives you conditions. So even when my hands cramp, I will wash, dry, parch, grease, twist, and braid my life around yours because it's always been about loving you and never been about braiding your hair. Peace.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about, man. Wow, wow. So, of course, I got some questions, man. Like, what a dope metaphor, man. It's not really
Thank
even
you.
a metaphor. Like, you really are a father of two daughters. You're really braiding hair. Am I right? You're really braiding hair, right?
Yeah. Nowadays it's more like daddy help grease my hair for me because my babies are 20 and 16, so they're
Right.
not really babies no more, so but yeah, so I mean, early in their life, like their mom and stuff used to work all the time, so it's like when I was home, it's like, okay, I know she could do their hair, and she got them looking right when they leave the house. And then when they home with me, and I got to go take them outside, and like they looking crazy. So I had to learn how to at least do a little two strand twist, a little plait, something, grease up, part straight. I had to learn that on my own. You know what I'm saying? Because I really believe if you're a father, you should really be able to do all those things to make sure that you can take care of your child as efficiently as the mother can when she's not there. So yeah, so when they were early on, yeah, I used to do all that.
Word, word. So you had this line, man. You said like you could get these shea butter hands, man. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is, man. I mean, that's the protective in me, man. There's nothing that means more to me in my life than my daughter. So you put your hands on your daughter, trust me, man, it's a problem, bro. Is there's no questions asked. It's a problem, I mean, even if they wrong. I got another poem that I wrote that says, even if they wrong, you better not put your hands on them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's yeah, those are my babies forever.
Yo, I feel you, man. And that's one thing that gripes me about you. All your poems. Again, I've gotten to know you personally somewhat. For years, almost all your poems, like very realistic about your life, about your family. I noticed a lot of family ties in your poetry, man. And how much of an influence has your family been into your poetry?
Well, I mean, my family has been an intricate part of my poetry because my started with my grandmother. My grandmother made sure that my family was a very tight knit family. When my grandmother was alive, almost every Sunday, all of her kids that were here, it was like six of them that were here. We used to get together every Sunday with all her grandkids. We used to have Sunday dinners. And when she passed away, it kind of fizzled off a little bit for my mother. My mother kept that same idealism, so all of her kids and all of her grandkids are in the house with her on a continuous basis. So my family is very, 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 very close knit. So when things happen to my family, you know what I'm saying, and it affects me, and it comes out in my poetry in the way that it affects me, not in an appropriation way, more so in the way of how it actually affected me, type situation.
Right, right, right. And kind of moving forward a little bit, how would you say that? Well, first of all, why don't you tell me a little bit about influence of life and what that is, and what your goals are with that, and what you have some of the stuff you've already done.
Influence of Life is a LLC, is a for-profit company. Reason is a for-profit is because I called a friend of ours in the beginning when I was starting to make the company, and Jamal Conscious Jimison. I called him, and I pulled on his ear. Was like, how should I go about? I want to create this business. I told him what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do a nonprofit again. And he was like, bro, I would tell you not to do a nonprofit because of all of the paperwork and rigmarole you have to go through and everything with being public and everything like that. So he convinced me to do an LLC. And when I did the LLC, he told me, he said, there's nothing wrong with making money for what you do. And so it started off doing workshops, in the community and different organizations, poetry workshops. And since I'm also a nurse, and I've been a psych nurse for a number of years, I incorporated social skills, coping skills, and conflict resolution into the vehicle of poetry to help young people with their voice and dealing with the social issues and the social constructs that they actually deal with in today's society. And because young people spend so much time being told what to think, they're not given the opportunity to actually tell you what they're feeling and what they're thinking. So I created this workshop, and it took off. It did really well. I got hooked up with Clifford Beers and started doing their respite program for like their first 3-4 years, being the main teaching artist there. And it provided me financial growth and growth in learning and being a teacher. Previous to that, I did workshops here and there, but when the company actually got formalized itself, it started at that point. And from there, it's just grown. I do workshops for, even now we had to transfer over to Zoom and things of that nature, but I do workshops and programming for schools all over the state, all demographics, I have different learning levels. I have different there's just a performance aspect as well as a therapeutic aspect, and then there's the actual teaching of writing, things of that nature. So from that, the money that comes from that, I take a portion of all my funds when I get them. I take a portion, I put them away, and this is to give back to the community. So every Thanksgiving, I give away dinners, and not just a little something. I mean, they got 3 cans of string beans, 3 cans of corn, and carrots, and all the vegetables you can imagine. 2 boxes of stovetop stuffing, a big box of mashed potatoes, 3 boxes of just corn muffin milks, uh, apple pies. They got turkey. They got everything they would need that I can store that they can have. I do that. I do that every Thanksgiving. This year, we did a light. It was a little light. I think I did 15 to 18 people when last year I did like 25. It was a little lighter. Maybe because I don't know why, but this we do things like that in the future. To talk about the future, we're talking about going forward with financial literacy and home buying to take and try to help our people buy back our community. So there's another faction that's going to go under the whole LLC, where it's going to be influencer like realty and property. So that's the next thing that's coming. Besides the clothing line that I had, the Influencer Life T-shirts and hoodies that are influencerlife.com. And from that aspect, I got more pictures and sayings and stuff that are coming, man. So it's been a blessing, bro.
Word. You just made me hungry talking about all that Thanksgiving food, man. I mean, I'm ready to show up for a box, but
Yeah.
but that's big, man. And I've noticed that you've been like kind of plugging in with a few other organizations as well, like and some community leaders, man. And I admire that, man. So it's like it's like poetry in motion, almost. You know what I mean? It's like taking your poems and building on your vision and creating community. Um, what kind of are you open to assistance or help or people that want to become a part of it? Or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm definitely into collaborations and doing things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one big issue our community has is that our community has a big issue of wanting all of the credit for the individual self and not wanting to work with another company because they feel like the other company resource is going to put them more in the forefront or what have you. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to help people, whether people know about it or not. For a long time, I've been doing this for years before my company, even before by the time I became a nurse. I've been a nurse 11 years, so I was doing it before my company actually came into fruition. But yeah, I don't mind working with people that have some of the same visions and passions, or even to help guide my vision and passion, because I'm still a baby in this, and there's people who've been doing this for a long time. I mean, of course, to keep it 100, I'm not into no one trying to use me, but in the same token, you know what I'm saying, I'm here for anything that's gonna make our people better.
Word. I appreciate that. So you've also been into the school system.
Hmm.
How has that experience been for you? And also, when you do work with the school system and the kids, how much of it is incorporating your poetry, or is it just basically like on a teaching basis?
It depends on what the school is asking me to do. So I just recently finished a residency with a school up in the Fairfield County area. Excuse me, in Fairfield County area, and they wanted me to they just finished a social studies um, uh, portion of protests, and they started with the Boston Tea Party and the Boston Massacre, and they wanted me to be able to connect poetry with the idea of protest. So it was a combination. I took kids through the idea of personification and what tar and feathering was, and actually making them be the tar or be the feather and describe how they would feel being either one of those. And they came out with a lot of dope stuff. So I taught them about and I taught them how to personalize a poem and different things of that nature, combined with talking about where protests started and how poetry is an actual protest. Um, without actually necessarily marching or whatever. I talked about poetic heroes like Amari Baraka and the things they've written to actually make poetry a protest. So it went really well. It went really well. It's different. I do have to tailor it depending on the demographic of where you are. You know, I mean, some people's palates aren't as seasoned as others. Um, to put it very simply, you know, the real I can give to my children and to my neighborhood because this directly affects them. When you go to another neighborhood or something like that, it's more so, well, you know, don't talk too much about that. So it's you end up learning how to get. So when I do other things, like I may not give all of my poetry, like I may not spit another poem that I made. If you ask me to do that, it's another poem that I may do. I may not do that particular poem because of the content of the poetry, and certain demographics shield their children in a box to where the outside world really doesn't affect them. So um I kind of leave it out and give them a watered down. I do other things like freestyling and have them give me words and show them how poetry works in different aspects and stuff like that, you know, to still complete the goal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can definitely relate to that. I've done my sitting at teaching and stuff like that too. So I definitely relate to that, man. By the way, I just want to make note that a few comments have been coming across the screen since we've been doing this, man. And I want to shout out Ayaba Mandingo. He said salute
Peace,
to you,
Yaba.
bro. He sent a salute to you, bro, when you was doing the poem, and he was our first show, you're our second show. So I just want to say, man, big ups to everybody. Man, we're really setting the bar high, man. Just getting back to the art a little bit though, man. That piece you did was like really phenomenal. I think what
Thank
stood out most to me is it's a metaphor because so much is entangled in braiding your daughter's hair and all the life lessons and just a moment to talk with her and everything like that. And it's also not a metaphor. I think that's what really got me. It's also not a metaphor because you really did braid hair,
you.
and stuff like that. And I just think it's phenomenal when art can speak life. You know what I'm saying? In such a matter.
I'm always big on that, man. You know me. I call a spade a spade. So, one of my other poems that I have is Paper Revolutionary, and it talks about the fact of, uh, and I've gotten different kind of pushback from this and so forth and so on. But artistry is artistry, and artistry reflects life. And so, if you're talking about loving somebody and you got these love poems, these elaborate love poems, like I want to see you actually doing that. Like I'm saying, if you talk about being in the street, helping young people and protesting and being about the life when the system arrives and they call on you. If you've been spitting it on stages in the community in their faces, and you need to be in their face, producing that same kind of energy. The young people are real big on today saying, have that same energy. I feel the same way. Have that same energy you had on the stage when they paid you that honorarium. You know what I'm saying, for doing that poem. Have that same energy when they ask you to be
Mm,
somewhere and to help out. Feel me?
right, right, right. Now, is that one of the ones you were going to share with us today?
No, that the other one I was gonna share is was trying to become a staple piece. It's called Black Boy.
Oh,
It's about me being a nurse and having to deal with black boys on the level that I deal with black boys as being
hey, since we're on the subject, man, I'd love to hear it, man.
a nurse. All right. It's hard to be a black man in America. Even more so, it's harder to be a black nurse, male, in America. You see, I had a conversation with a black boy the other day, gunshot victim. He asked, "What makes a black man be a nurse?" I told him the last line of the nursing pledge reads, "I dedicate myself to the devoted services of human welfare." Well, I guess you black boys are the only humans because your welfare seems to be the only ones at risk. As a nurse, I've seen more black boys die in hospital beds than I care to count. Have heard more mothers scream, God help me, with the white voice in the room saying, I did all I could. I mean, do you know what a street beef smells like? It smells like the hot slugs cooking in a black boy's chest. Because I'm from a city that knocks down projects because the rubble makes better battlegrounds. Turning black boys into green berets, playing in concrete jungles, moving like renegade soldiers, fighting for the big piece of poverty. Call it black on black civil war. Call it ethnic suicide. But black boy, you ain't no soldier. I seen how you die. Tears running, fists clenched in fear, body quivering like mama's little baby. I've seen bullets pull from your ribs the way food is pulled from your teeth. Black boy, how can you digest death but you can't chew life? You see, there's no honor in how you die. Body broken like bread, hands baptized in your blood. I've seen your purple heart on chill like the devil's coming for dinner. Black boy, don't you know the devil's a glutton for black boys in white sheets? Do you know what your blood looks like on white sheets? It looks like emasculation, mental conditioning. It looks like extermination. It looks like your blood knows how to die. Like mama stretched across caskets like American flags, folding herself into fetal triangles, delivering her tears to pillows, realizing she won't hang any more spangled banners for her stars. It looks like my nursing degree has become a one-way ticket to watch you die, choking on bloody bullets over and over and over again. It has to be a sin. Black boy, it has to be a sin that you learn how to pull 9mm before you can even pull a 900 on your SATs. That I learned how to pull bullet fragments before I even learned how to pull splinters. Black boy, we don't need no more GI Bills. Aren't you tired of depositing bullets into your GI? Gastrointestinal tract, taking gut shots. Don't you know the devil's a glutton for a black boy's flesh? Because your flesh be beautiful, your flesh be sacred, melanated, Morris cold, your flesh be forget failure. Black boy, you ask what makes a black man be a nurse? I say when the overflow of self-hatred and blood tsunamis the emergency room, when hospital beds, gauze, and sutures no longer keep the damned from leaking. I say you, black boy, I became a nurse hoping my hands will be your Teflon second chance, because the only shots I ever want you to take are the ones at greatness. Peace.
Ooh. 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 About fire, man. Listen, when you first started coming to Sandra's Midnight Poetry back in the days, if I was knowing you were going to start writing fire like that, bro. Hey, listen, man, that was deep, man. And it's funny because I'm hearing you spit that, right? And all I'm getting is the vision of you coming from the project. You know, the vision of you making another choice to be a nurse. A vision of of how in so many ways, you know what I mean? Those bloody bullets you were coughing up could have been you. So
Facts.
I just want to hear like of course, see, and that's why this is called Poems and Passion. You know what I mean? So just like I need to hear from your word. Like wow.
So
Yeah.
go ahead. Well, I mean, so the poem at one point before this pandemic and stuff hit, man, there was an influx of calls I was getting, doctors calling to ask me for wounds and stuff like that. But it was an influx of young black boys I was going that had bullet holes, man. They were gunshot victims. And these are young boys, man. I'm talking about 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. And I'm going in, and these brothers they not only do they have a wound in one side, they got a colostomy on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, this is crazy, yo. These are kids. And so being the poet and the person that I am, you know what I'm saying, while I have my hands in their abdomen, packing their wounds, I'm talking to them about their future. I'm talking to them about what got you to this point and where are we going to go from this point. You know, I mean, it's crazy how it is. And I'm talking about kids from all over the state, because what people don't realize, when kids get shot in Bridgeport, they come to their family house in New Haven to rest and get up again, because they can't stay in Bridgeport and be down. And when kids get shot in Waterbury, they come down to New Haven And so the nursing services to transfer to nurse service in New Haven. And so this is not just New Haven kids. These are kids like across the state from our inner cities. And I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous, man. And I'm like, do you even have an idea that this is exactly what society wants you to do, for you to actually exterminate yourself and makes the job easier? And like it did something to me. And I'm like, and you know, as you said, like um, all of my life experience resonates through my poetry. No poem that I have is ever fake or anything like that. And that's one of the realest poems. It's a national poem. It's a national award-winning poem. Um, uh, done shut down a lot of slams with it, you know. But yeah, man, that's what it is.
Jeez, jeez. So this is a question that, just to see where you're at, So you did one poem about braiding your daughter's hair.
Hmm.
Everything was fatherhood for your daughters, and then you did another one called Black, about an ode to the Black boys, and
Hmm.
about you being a nursing experiences. Do you, like, of course, not with your own daughters, but in society, do you feel
Hmm.
more compassion maybe for the boys over the girls? Who do you want to reach? That's what I'm asking. Who do you
You
want?
know, bro, I want to reach. I want to reach both of them. It's funny because in my poetry, I talk a lot about young men, but in life, I do a lot for young ladies. Um, I used to work for a company that was a residency for young people, and I was recruited to work with the girls. And it was a difficult challenge because you were working with girls who had been abused and violated by their very own parents and had no idea what unconditional love and compassion was without something sexual being attached to it. So being in that situation, I learned that there's a great need for young women to have positive young males or positive black males in their life. And also because there's not a whole bunch of agencies and allies and programs for young women in society. Um, Most of the programs are actually geared towards young men. And so saying that there's another part of influence in life that I used to also work for a psych hospital. And so I have a lot of I have social workers and APRNs and stuff like that that are willing to give their time. And one of the goals I want to do is the houses that I buy is to take one of them and make them almost as a group home for young girls to teach them life skills and stuff like that that they need, that aren't getting it in society, who feel like they're alone and they're left out and they need services. Um, so my passion is to help young girls in the community. My poems, I help young boys all the time, but my poems are circled around them because it almost feels like to me in some way young men, to reach them differently, um, to get to them, you got to reach them differently. And I've been able to reach a lot of young men through my poetry because most of them aspire to be rappers or something in the entertainment field. And so when when I've gotten into short battles and fun battles on the street where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do my poetry, you can have rap cuz and we're gonna see what it do. And after it's done, like I got their respect now. Now I got their ear. You know what I'm saying? So now I have your ear. Let's talk about something rich. You know what I'm saying? Type thing. So yeah, so I want to help both. I just do it in different ways.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So really quick, while we got some people, just give the people where they can find you on social media, where they can find you. It's not over yet, but I just want to
Right.
hit that, and we can come back to that again too.
First and foremost, you can go to my website, influencealife.com, where you can find the content about me, my bio. You can find where I'm going to be when the world open back up again. You can also find my shop that's on there in the hoodies and clothing and all that that's on there. Please support because, like I said, those proceeds actually do go to um, helping people in the community do different things, food and so forth and so on. So please do support that. You can also find me on social media. I just changed my handle on Instagram, so now it all reads Influence A Life. It's influence underscore A underscore life, and on Facebook you can find me on Shamant Influence Little on Facebook and Twitter. I don't be on Twitter that much. Twitter is aggravating, bro. Um, But yeah, those are my social media that you can find me. And also you can just Google me and my number pops up. So you can feel free to call me if you got a show for me or you got a workshop for me. You want to talk about some things, you got some young people that need reaching to. Hit me up. I mean, I do a lot and I'm stretched out a lot, but if I can't do it, I can direct you in the way of someone who can do it. And the other thing I do, Jay, is that I've been putting other community artists to work as well. So I've been making sure that artists get money put into their pockets. So I've been able to hire. Another thing Jamal taught me was to actually be at the table at some of these discussions. Just like real quick, just a knowledge thing for artists. Just think about the fact if you're doing a workshop and the person that hired you to do the workshop said, I'm going to pay you $75 an hour for you to do this workshop. Well, if they're paying you $75 an hour, imagine the amount of money that they've gotten over that. So for instance, if you do a workshop for an hour and they tell you for that hour, that workshop may have been paid. They may have been paid up to $1,500 for that workshop, especially if it's from a school or institution. They may have been paid up close to or up to $1,500. So I try to make sure that I teach artists this, and I try to make sure I put money in their pocket. There's no artist that I ask to do anything for me that I don't make sure that they get an honorarium of some sort, no matter what level of art you're in. Knowing your worth is so important. Which is something D Moss taught me. Knowing your worth is so very important, and honestly, knowing your worth, knowing if you're not a $1,500 poet, you can't go and ask for $1,500, and your writing skills is $30. Like, keep it a buck. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, because there is levels to this thing, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ayaba Mandingo is international. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so he's a regular everyday brother, but I mean, when you talk to him, but the man's talent is international. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But please know your work.
Yeah, yeah, but that's a good point. Because that $75 sounds good. Like, oh, $75 an hour. You know what I mean? It's hard to get a job making $75 an hour, but the workshop might only be 1 hour. So that's $75. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
hour and a half. You get 110 or something.
Right.
And so, and we all know that there's prep work that goes into a workshop. You don't just show up and do a workshop like, hey, I'm JaSUN. I'm an influence. We're gonna do this workshop. No, it's still more than that. It's centered, it's focused. So that's a good point, man. That's a good point, man. And I'm glad that you're able to be a stable enough for other artists to eat at your table. I think that's a really good thing, man. So also, what other we talk about the kids, but like, what areas do you see your art reaching the adult world?
Well, I mean, most of the venues that we spit at is normally adults. Most shows that I do is normally a lot of times adults. So, I've reached adults in many different ways. I have my catalog goes from those two poems to poems about gay rights and stuff like that, and LGBTQ community rights, and it goes into a plethora of things. So I get a lot of respect from other adults, especially my elders. The greatest thing that happened to me on tour, when I went on tour in 2019, I was at Busboys and Poets. I did the whole string of Busboys and Poets. And so when I did them, I had so many elders that were, what I'm saying, older than my mom's, like coming up to me and saying, like one lady said to me, was like, if there's young brothers out here spitting like you spit, I think our culture is in very good hands. Yo, that's worth more than any dollar you can place on me, bro. Like, that's worth more than anything. Like when what's why am I drawing a blank right now? It's crazy. But I had another artist, another prominent last poet tell me I was at his house and he told me, he said, your poem spoke to my walls. He said they'll never forget it. Like stuff like that, man, was like stuff like that means more to me than money or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that paints a clear picture that there's just like a whole generational, not gap, a generational bridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we flow through. You know what I mean? We're winding down a little bit. I was gonna try to, another poem out of you.
Uh, well, somebody just seemed to ask the question up there that says, when does poetry end and life begin? For
Mm,
me, uh, it doesn't. To me, it's one and the same. I live my writings. Um, what I spit, I actually live. So when I spit about a black boy, I put on my boots, my scrubs, my mask, my gowns, and I go out there and I'm doing this every day. It's just reflected in my poems. When I have another poem that I talk about my family and stuff like that, I'm actually embedded into my family, trying to be the cornerstone and the strong person for my moms and for everybody else. Like, so poetry doesn't necessarily end for me, because to me, I have a saying: poetry is life, live it. It doesn't end for me. You know what I'm saying? It's not a game for me. It's not just a hobby. This is life for me. As I said earlier, poetry saved my life. So how can I make a hobby out of something that I feel actually saved me?
that's good stuff though. I can relate to that. Like I've suffered through bouts of depression in my life, my personal life, right? And
I think Jay's son is frozen. But I see another question here. Hopefully he comes back. I see another question here. What are your greatest accomplishments in poetry? Um, wow, that's kind of tough. Um, I have a lot of accomplishments in poetry. To actually say one is the greatest over another, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can say what's the greatest or not. I mean, I've done a lot of things. I became Connecticut Grand Slam champion. I performed on national stages. Um, uh, I performed in front of Mary Baraka. Uh, I've been all over the country and been paid to do it. Like, those are the greatest things to me. So, what advice would I give an upcoming poet? Um, Read, study your craft. Um, your first edit is not your best edit. Editing and revising goals can go on forever. Um, be open to constructive criticism. Um, Follow your heart. Be true to your poetry, because if you're talking about being a performance poet, when you get on stage to deliver that poem, unless you're this great theater major, which some poets are, which some spoken word artists are, make sure your poetry is genuine, because that'll resonate from that microphone into that crowd. And what's more valuable than any dollar they can place on you is the respect and admiration you get for people appreciating the genuineness that you put forth on that microphone. So always be genuine in what you write, and the major thing is study your craft inside and out. Know what I'm saying? My favorite place to perform or share my poetry. The most fun place to perform is the Lizard Lounge in Boston. It's always family up there, and I love going up there with the slams. Um, Other than that, I enjoyed when I'm the curator of Poetry Room as well for my man Ernell. Salute to my man Ernell. It's fun being there with the people there and sharing my poetry there at the open mic, and building community there. So that's one of the one of my favorite places to be, um, as well. Other than that, I mean, all the other stages across the country been great. Busboys and Poets was great. Performing in Las Vegas was great. Cali was great. All these other places were great. But being home and being around people that are for real, not just poetry love. You got a lot of things where people have poetry love, but being honestly around good people Is it absolutely necessary that a performance poet remember their poems? What was it? I get this question all the time. So here's my perspective on that. If you're going to be a spoken word artist and you're going to be a performing spoken word artist, you have to realize that spoken word is not just poetry and getting on a mic and just reciting it. It's a theatrical event. It's your body, your face, your muscles, everything telling a story um with inside the poem. That's why I love slam so much. And memorizing your poem and internalizing your poem are two different things. When you internalize your poem, you become free. Peace. Welcome back, Jay. When you internalize your poem, you become free. So then you're able to own that stage. That stage becomes your pulpit, and you go. There's nothing wrong with poets that read off paper. One of the dopest poets that will murder you in a slam is Jamal St. John. And Jamal St. John reads off paper 90% of the time he performs, and he will murder you, like murder you, hands down. So there's nothing wrong with reading off page. But for the most part, for most people can't put forth that energy reading as they can when they memorize it.
Hey, peace, y'all. So I'm back. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty, but what I don't want to do is ask you a question that you answered while I was gone. But I'm hoping that this will be a little different. So, being that you've started stages all across America, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
How does that feel? And did you ever did you foresee that in the beginning, or did it just happen? And how did it feel
Man,
as it happened?
bro, you could have never coming from Franklin Street Projects and growing up, and then growing up in other places that I grew up across Connecticut, you would have never been able to tell me that I would be where I am right now. I had a conversation with someone the other day. I had no idea I was going to be where I am today. To be honest with you, I was acting up in the streets at one point. My dad looked at me and he told me, if you don't straighten up, you're going to be dead by the time you're 18. I am 45 years old. I am completely on borrowed time. I cannot express the gratitude I have for poetry, for the things that I have accomplished. Never would I have thought that I would have my own company. Never would I have thought that I'd be able to put artists to work. Never would I have thought that I would be able to spend umpteens amount of dollars feeding communities. Never would I have thought that I would have the respect and admiration that I have of other artists and people in the community. Never, never. I mean, in the beginning, I never imagined this, man. I am so eternally grateful. If nothing else great happens to me at this point, I think I've had a purpose in a life that a lot of people never, coming from where I come from, never would be able to imagine or see.
Yo, I feel that, man. I feel that answer, man. You know, and you got me reflecting, especially with one of your earlier answers from this interview, when you talked about, you know, some of the people that you got to meet. Speaking of Amiri Baraka, and I can think of the same
Abio
thing.
Doom. My bad. The house I
Oh
was
yeah,
at was
no,
Abio Doom's.
no, I knew that too. When you were saying that, I knew I should have said something then. I knew it was Abby O'Doon, man. But yeah, to be blessed by people like him. Like I remember he punched me in the chest. The first time he heard me spit, he gave me a two-piece to the chest. I was like, wow, where the biscuit at? You know what I mean? But like and that was an honor. But meeting some of the other people, you know, like you said, you know, Ayaba's a humble, down to earth, regular, everyday guy, but he's also this international artist and poet. And I think for me, just meeting and being around some of the people that I've gotten to meet and be around in this poetry circle, in this poetry way of life, being a poet, has been instrumental to me, man.
Mhm.
Relationships. I mean, it gets as fundamental as, you know, I can tell who you are by the 10 people you hang around. You know, and I may not necessarily hang around poets every day or anything, but
Right,
people have affected my life, man. You
right.
know. the experiences. And when we go into to start talking about life and quality of life and betterment of life, I cannot be who I am without other people's influence on me. Influence without other people's influence on me. So I'd like to hear about some of your influences and just going a little bit more. We only got a few minutes left about how
Um,
this has changed your life.
Real quick, I mean, most people say prominent artists and stuff like that. To be honest, the people who have influenced my life the most are the people that I can actually call. People who, when I'm on the road, I can actually sleep on the couch if I need to. So you're talking about people like D Moss. You're talking about people like yourself. You're talking about people like a Yabba and Dingo. You're talking about Mr. Ngoma Hill. I mean, Baba Ngoma Hill. So you're talking about Conscious. You're talking about Qualo. You're talking about Midnight. People who are right here close to me are some of my biggest influences. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you study, yeah, I mean, you study Langston Hughes and you realize how much trash Robert Frost really is and stuff like that. So you try not to write anything like that. Um, but, but but you know what I'm saying, the people who are actually close to me, man, are the people who inspire me the most, man. My kids inspire me on a regular basis. Some of the greatest poems that I still have to write, people haven't heard yet because they're some of the most personal poems that I haven't fully released
Mm.
and fully written. So my dad passed away, and the last thing he told me was in 2018, he told me to make sure I showed the world 17. He told me to make sure I showed the world how great I am. And that's when I started going extra hard in everything I do. And so the world still hasn't seen my greatest work yet. I think I have a lot more to go because it's more personal. Yeah.
Word, word. Yo, that just to show you how dope this interview was and how dope everything you said was. Like we started talking about family, and we're winding it down on a very personal level. Family, I'll go ahead and as far as to say that, man. I talked to Conscious recently, and he's starting to write again. Just putting
Oh,
that out there. Just putting that out there. And man, family that we create, the family that we live by, man, it's just really starting to touch me, man. And I'm so glad that you said, some of your best poems haven't even come out yet. I feel the same way, brother. You know,
yeah.
and it's been an interesting journey, man. And we're just at halftime with this thing, man.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, we're just at halftime with that. So again, man, we got about 3 minutes left. If you could just plug Influence of Life again, plug everything you're doing again, give 'em a shout out and end this on a positive note, man.
Yeah, man. So please go to influencerlife.com. Please hit the shop. The hoodies are there. There'll be new logos and stuff like that coming out soon. You can follow me on actually in my website. All my links are there to my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Twitter. Check me out. If you will, if you want to book me, I still do virtual shows. Depending on what the state has to offer, I still do in-person shows with social distancing. I am a nurse, so with social distancing and people wearing masks, I'm still a nurse. Um, but yeah, man, just yeah. I mean, so if you want to get at me, man. I'm willing to work with anybody that's going to be positive and productive and progressive. So let's get it, man. It's not much to say. You know what I'm saying? Get it. And I thank you for all the love and passion that people have showed me over the years, man. All the admiration. It's humbling, most definitely.
Word, word. And with that, man, we're going into 2021, man, real soon. I don't really know about Christmas and all that, man. I'm not really in the Christmas spirit. I am, but I'm not. I like
Mhm.
giving, but it's not, what you got to say for the people, man, going into 2021, man?
Listen, man, going to 2021, please focus on multiple streams of income for yourself because don't let these corporate places that you work for be your last draw. You have to create multiple streams of income for yourself. This is beyond poetry, beyond on that. This is Black financial literacy and becoming a more productive and powerful person for you and your community. Please look into the stock market, look into owning your own business and streamline your business. So, I mean, other people may be doing the same thing, but they're not going to do it like you. So please focus on that and because you have more power when you have more money, and so just believe that that's the only language America speaks. America speaks money, and if you have it, you're able to do your thing. I love y'all, man. For real.
Yo, I love you too, man. You dropped it on so many levels, man. You got me feeling like Marley Marl in a symphony. You know what I mean? And you just took all four parts. From the poems to dropping to the financial success and money streams at the end, man, and talking about family, man. And I just said to do a little something to the beat go. Hey, man, we're going to close this show out, man. Again, thank you for Influence. Check him out at influencerlife.com. Man, he's local, he's international, he's everything, man. He's a real brother, man. You know, and we need more of those, man, in this world. So, in the words of those elders that said, man, if everyone was writing, if all the young brothers are writing like you, this world is in good hands. So with that, man, I say peace.
Peace, bro. Peace.